So my name is Sam, and when I traveled, I was Sam, the Jewish guy. And how many of you guys would love to know where you come from and go to the place where you originated? So did I, and that's what it meant. These are all the places where I went for 5 months. And essentially, my story begins in Israel 2,000 years ago. Jews are kicked out, and they have no homeland, and they're traveling around the world, and they're settling places. I was in India, and I got the idea of why don't I just travel around the world taking photographs of synagogues and Jewish places. This seemed like a great idea, but it was shelved for like 6 years. But then I was in Israel, there were shells falling, I was in bomb shelters, and I was thinking, oh man, all these people hate Jews, but all the Jews hated Jews. Like, they're just like, you're Moroccan, you're Russian, you're, Ethiopian. And to me, hate comes from ignorance. It's when you don't understand where the other person's coming from. So I thought, okay, these synagogues are great, but there's stuff that keeps people inside. Why don't I go and find out about people so that when Jews go to talk to a Moroccan, I can make something where they know what Moroccan person went through to become the way that they are. So that led me going around the world and really finding out about the globalization of Jewish culture, because it's the one culture that for 2,000 years has gone everywhere, but still retained that kind of tie to their culture and their history. So who are the Jews? Well, they look like anybody. I mean, Indians, Ethiopians, black, whatever, but they all have that genetic tie to Israel. But they also have a cultural aspect, of course. So food, holidays, history, and certain aspects that we all come to know as cultural aspects. And of course, there's religion. It's one of the few people who have a religion that's tied to their tradition and their culture, whereas Catholics, you can be from almost anywhere in Catholic. For Jews, it's very central to their culture. So I was never religious, but traveling around for 5 months, I was going to synagogues of all types. So in Ethiopia, in Philippines, India, Belarus, all over the place, and seeing that all of them were very similar. The prayers were the same, everything was the same, even though it's all over the place. And what also was very interesting was that I found out, why are Jews successful, right? We know a lot of them are, disproportionately. And I found out they are the only culture that has 100% literacy rate for 2,000 years. Interesting how knowledge actually leads to success. Also, values, family values. I mean, this is a family in Mumbai. The man in the gray shirt has been laid off, and the man in the white shirt, he's a representative of the community, and he's been helping the family financially and he was depressed, helping him with counseling. So a lot of services. It's a very tight-knit community. So I wasn't always around people. Sometimes I was alone. This was my one day off in Rome. I was with boxed wine, some cheese, and some bread. It was awesome. Really one of my best days. I was not as presentable as I am right now, so I would be going into synagogues and people would look at me sideways. But it was kind of the best job ever. I would just walk around and I was kind of, what am I doing? And then I'd look around and I'm like, I'm cool, I'm poor. It's pretty nice. But it led to a lot of surprises. So this is on Eldridge Street in New York. So you can see these people are clearly Asian, and they have yarmulkes on them. Inside of the synagogue, this used to be a Jewish area and it became Chinatown, and yet this is kind of like the intermingling of the cultures. I didn't have to go very far to talk to people. This was in London. I just started talking to guys about their shoes. I only had one pair, so it was a natural conversation starter. And they told me about how they once punched a rabbi in order to save him from cardiac arrest. So I definitely pulled out my camera and just started recording that story. That's on the website. It's hilarious. Of course, it's fairly depressing in Europe because of Holocaust. So this is how North Europeans have dealt with it. These are little gold bricks all around Norway and France and Germany to show the missing piece of their country, the missing piece of their Jewish story. In some places, of course, I was pleasantly surprised. So this is Turkey. Everyone told me Muslims don't talk about being Jewish, and they took me around everywhere. They were very welcoming. There are synagogue streets. Apparently, it's the place in Middle East where Jews have always been welcome. And that's kind of, you really find that out by traveling, by going to places, not from reading about it. In South Africa, I was looking forward to meeting the Lithuanian Jews, and here I come to find out that there have been Jews there for 3,000 years. They're black, clearly, but they still are kosher and don't eat pig and monotheistic in a very, very pagan society. So they've been living around Zulus. But we were kind of like pretty much brothers. We hugged. It was great. In Ethiopia, it was different, you know. In South Africa, they lived amongst the tribes for thousands of years. In Ethiopia, they decided to side with the Muslims against their neighboring Christians, and since then, 1 million of them have been killed. So don't go against your neighbors. Following my gut feeling, my dreams has led to some great and some bad moments. This is actually my very close friend's daughter. He died the day after I arrived in Ukraine, and I had no idea that he was sick with AIDS. And I would have not done this had I not just left my home to kind of pursue my dream. So in the end, the story ends well. Israel is created, Jews have a homeland, and I have a lot of really good Jewish stories. So I'm leaving on Sunday to continue with this, and I welcome you all to go explore and find your stories. Thank you.